Oh my god, I'm back. Hi. I'm learning a lot already about YouTube, learning a lot about interacting with people on YouTube. Found out that there's an entire hashtag for booktubers. I think it was called booktube. But anyway, very exciting stuff. Today I want to talk about what you need before you start querying. And I feel like I shouldn't need to say this, but maybe I do. You got to finish the book first. If you have 30,000 words of a novel that you're like, this one's going to be it, this is the one that everyone's going to buy for $1 million, you can't query that. I'm sorry. It's different for nonfiction. If you're writing nonfiction, all you really need is a proposal, and I'm not too familiar with the area of that, so if you guys are interested, I can try to find some nonfiction like writers who have been successful in that area, but I focus solely on fiction. Fiction's a little different. You gotta have a finished book. That's because they need to know that you're a good writer. And that really is first and foremost. You have to better your ability as a writer first, which is why before I even started querying, I spent 9 years writing just for fun. Just for fun. It's all buried on my hard drive somewhere. No one will ever see that stuff, but that was very important to me because it allowed me to learn how to write. And that's really, step number point 0.5, I guess, because you have to have a finished book to get started with querying. But let's say that you already have a finished book. Now you're wondering if it's time to go ahead and submit email on that, or send on that email. So let's talk about that. So you have a finished book. The first thing that you're going to need to do is identify what genre this book will belong in. Now, this is incredibly important because if you can't pick out where your book is going to go in Barnes & Noble, an agent won't be able to either. And it kind of shows the agent that you haven't taken the time to think about where this book will be marketed later on, which really doesn't help your case very well when you're trying to show them that you're a professional author. Again, publishing is a business. They're here to make money. Hopefully we will too, but it's really the big five publishers in New York. They're here to make money. So you've got to be thinking like them if you want to play in their game. But just know you have to have a genre for your book. That could be middle grade, that could be YA, that could be adult fantasy, sci-fi, contemporary, paranormal, whatever floats your boat. But make sure that there is a label for that novel. Step number 2, what's your word count? You need to know how long is an acceptable length for that book. Now, off the top of my head, the basic length for a middle grade book is 40,000 to 60,000 words, and 60,000 is really kind of the head. I know Percy Jackson's like 67, but Rick Riordan is the exception, not the rule. So don't go for the exception, go for the rule because no one knows who you are yet. I'd say anywhere from 50,000 to 80,000, maybe up to 90,000 for young adult fantasy. Say you want to write 80,000 to 105, maybe 105,000. I really wouldn't go any higher than 110. Having a proper word count for your genre is, it's absolutely essential. You have to know where you're pitching and why, and you have to know where your book is going to fit in that market. Step number 3, now it's time to find agents, right? So you're going to need to know who you want to query, and this is a really personal decision. There's a lot of different agents. There's a lot of different agencies. What I was looking into 3 years ago when I was querying is not the same as what it is today. I think the Publishers Marketplace is a really good opportunity to see what agents are physically selling novels. But Publishers Marketplace has a pretty hefty price tag attached to it. If you want to get on with it, I think it's like $30 for a month. So if you get an offer from an agent, I think Publishers Marketplace is a really good resource. But until that point, I don't really think it's that necessary to pay that kind of money. Agentquery.com is a really great place to learn about editing your query letter, which I would say is probably step number 4. Your query letter should take you a long time. You should dedicate at least as much energy into your query letter as you did into the first 50 pages of your novel. Your query letter might be the only thing that this agent sees. So step 4, polish your query letter. As I said, agentquery.com is a great website for that. There's a lot of forums on there where people will just critique the crap out of your query letter, but take those with a grain of salt. They will tear your query letter to shreds, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's confusing because one person might say this is great and another person might say this sucks, and you as the author are going to have to decide which one is true. The other one that I highly recommend is querytracker.com. This one is involved in tracking literary agents, and writers like you who are in the querying process are able to go on and talk about when you submitted this query letter to this agent, when the agent got back to you with a response, whether it be email or an automatic rejection. With so much data on that website, it really gives you a very solid idea about how long it's going to take a specific agent to get back to you, because some of them get back to you in a week, and some of them don't get back to you for 6 months. And that's just how this industry goes. Step 5, the dreaded synopsis. Yeah. A lot of agents don't want this, but a lot of them do. And if you don't take the time before you send out that first email to get this synopsis polished and done well, you're going to be kind of on the spot when this agent writes you back and says, oh my gosh, I love the pitch of this. Your query letter is great. I need to see a synopsis in the first 50 pages. Well, you better have the synopsis in the first 50 pages ready to go, because this is kind of a time-sensitive business. You know, when I say it's a time-sensitive business, I'm talking about you as the person who is trying to get an agent on your side. Agents get excited about a book, and then they get inundated with 100 other books. And if you don't have the materials prepared right away to send out to these agents, and I say right away loosely, you should double check your work, make sure that it's as polished as you can, but set yourself up for success by getting all of this stuff prepared before you get started. Write the synopsis, polish the synopsis. Once again, agentquery.com is a really great place to learn about how to polish a synopsis alongside those forums. Now, formatting. Double check the novel that you've written and make sure that it is double spaced. Make sure that the margins are the appropriate size. Make sure that the title page is included. Make sure that the word count is in the top right-hand corner. Make sure that the chapters all start on their own page halfway down the page. These things are all very important, and again, they're just going to lend to a professional nature when you start querying these agents. You've got all of that stuff down. You're ready to send that email. One by one. You do not send a mass email to 50 agents. That is the fastest way to get rejected. They won't even look at your book. Don't do it. You know, you're asking them to take 5, 10, 15 minutes out of their day to read a little bit about your book. The least you can do is take 5, 10, 15 minutes out of your day to figure out who they are, how to spell their name, and maybe something about them. You know, a lot of them have Twitter pages now. Go onto their Twitter and see if they posted, something interesting that you can relate to or something that relates to your book. Don't be creepy. Don't be obsessive. When I say do research on the vague things. Don't dig deep into their Twitter profile and find out that you both have the same picture hanging in the bathroom. Don't do that. That's creepy. And the last thing that I think I should remind everybody before you go ahead and submit that email, no attachments. Unless they specifically ask for it. Agents don't want to open attachments. A lot of them won't open attachments. So if you don't put your query letter in the body of that email, you're really setting yourself up again for failure. This industry is so hard, and it's so hard to get your foot in the door that you need to be doing every single thing you can to set yourself up for success from the beginning. And that really starts with just learning what the expectations are of the agents and of the industry. Because if you can get all of those things over, you're going to be better than 80% of what shows up in an agent's inbox. I mean, I've talked to a lot of agents. The stuff that they get in their inboxes is shocking to me, that people have not done their due diligence and looked this up. Once you have all that stuff done, send off that email. You did it. Now go on to Twitter and congratulate yourself. Tell everybody that you've officially started the querying process. It's going to be so exciting. And then get ready for the email refreshing, because that will happen 18,000 times a day for the next year. So, so excited that you're with us. If you send out in batches of 10, I would pick about 10 agents. Send out your book to those 10 agents, wait to get some responses. If you start getting rejections, 3 or 4 rejections of those 10 agents, maybe start looking into what you can revamp with your query letter. Where the agent ended up stopping depends on what you need to fix. So if they got through the query letter and said, this book sounds great, and then they requested a partial manuscript and you sent the first 50 pages and then they gave you a rejection, the problem's not in the query letter. the problems in your first 50 pages. So now it's time to decide what you're going to do to fix it, if anything. Anyway, that's what I have to say about querying, getting started with the process. I hope that this helped a little bit. If you guys have any questions about how the querying process should pan out or about things that maybe you should be doing, feel free to write me in the comments section below. I'm really excited to interact with people here. I'm really excited about this booktube thing that I've heard about. Can't wait to dive into that a little bit more. Thanks so much. Have a good night.